JT Miller, by the way, on a point streak that is over 2,500 days long with the New York Rangers.
That's such a crazy stat.
Because
I love that stat.
His last game as a Ranger, he had a point. His first game against Boston, he had a goal. And then last night, he had an assist.
He had not been a Ranger for over 500 games.
Crazy.
He played he basically had an NHL career between his Ranger stints.
So let's talk about the Rangers. And let's talk about the fact that, it's funny. It's a great trade for the Rangers. It's great, right? You can't deny that when JT Miller is locked in, he is an absolute animal.
Scored 100 points last year.
And so, but when he's not, he's very not. And we saw both sides of that in Vancouver. I think, I don't know it's been so long since he was a Ranger that I didn't, I have no idea how he was viewed when he was 24 or 25 when he was traded to Tampa. But this is a guy who, along with Mika Zibanejad and Vinny Trocheck, Trocheck signed to 29. He's 31. JT Miller's 31. He signed to 2030. Zibanejad is 31. He signed to 2030.
That is a win now age group. You have to. You're not building for the future with that, right?
Right. So what do you think about this deal? What do you think he adds, guys? What do you think? Do you think the Rangers, who they've showed signs of life in the last 4 weeks, do you think that this is the thing? JT Miller and these guys, Vinny Trocheck's pumped. It was one of his best friends. Mm-hmm. Do you think that they can ride this into a postseason?
It's tricky because they have their seasons alive again, and then they go and lose 3 straight, which is a real tough one. But it's funny. There are things on the line this season because of that first round pick and its protection, and you don't want to kick that can down the road. But this JT Miller deal is big for them for the future. At $8 million, even if he's an inconsistent player, you could probably survive because he's not making what Panarin and Zibanejad are making. And then with the cap going up and up and up and up, this is going to be like a $6 million player, which if he's not playing on your top line, you'll survive. You'll be okay. He can play center for you, great. If he stops being able to do that, he can play wing. Great. Can kill some penalties for you. Great. Be a factor on your power play. Great. And he brings a passion and a fury. He plays furious hockey. And if you're worried that your Rangers team is a little too sleepy, don't worry. You got one of the most intense players in the National Hockey League when he's on. And I did get a kick out of Vancouver Canucks fans looking at his first game with the Rangers and going 2 goals and -1. Mwah. Perfection. That is a JT Miller-ass game.
Jesse, you have watched the Rangers with real interest. For you, they are a team for the last, I think, 3-4 years that you've been like, one of the teams outside of Toronto that you really pay attention to.
Yeah.
What do you think about this for them?
There's a lot of conversation about the age of their forward group, and I think it dismisses the fact that the defense core is so young. And you point to like, okay, they got all these forwards and they're all 30 plus, but then you go to their defense and none of them are over the age of 30. None of them are over the age of 28. Actually, Borgren is actually their oldest defense playing regularly.
That's so wild.
And that's a good thing.
Yes.
It balances out the overall makeup of the roster because you can't just have all young guys and then you're Buffalo. You can't just have all old guys and then you're Pittsburgh. So they've created a good balance here. And in terms of like looking beyond this season, I don't think you can with this team because their expectations this year are that we are going to be in the hunt for the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. And you send out Capo a little earlier, you send out Hedl now, and you're sending out young guys, and you get a little older, but the goal is to just improve the roster incrementally throughout the season to get better, to try and make a deep run in the playoffs, and I think that's what they're doing here. I don't think anybody can argue that JT Miller is not an upgrade over Hedl. I think we've played it right now. Yeah. Like, they've upgraded in that position, and that's all you can ask for at the end of the day in a trade for a team that's trying to win now. They don't need futures. Like, who cares what happens in the future with this team?
Yeah, Panarin's 33. You got a couple more years left. Like, let's
so
go.
good.
The window's right now. So if they made this incremental upgrade over, if it's not even incremental, if it's a big upgrade over Hedl to Miller, I think that's a win for the New York Rangers.
I don't think you cry too much about Mancini, not because he's not going to be incredible, because man, everyone I've spoken to since that trade is like, holy shit, wait till you get a load of this kid. Like, he's going to be... I would advise caution, because there was a time where the Leafs acquired Dion Phaneuf from the Calgary Flames. And if you remember, people were like, one day this is going to be remembered as the Keith Ollie trade. That was the thing people said.
Yeah.
It was, and what was he? Giant stay-at-home defenseman who was young, and wait till you get a load of this kid, and he didn't turn into much, right? He was okay for a hot minute, but he didn't turn into much. Even if Mancini hits, like Vancouver knocks it out of the park, right-handed defenseman, are the Rangers getting rid of Adam Fox?
No.
Okay. Are they getting rid of Braden Schneider?
We don't know yet.
I mean,
Probably not.
probably not if they're smart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
He's not next offseason, but the offseason after he needs a contract, but he's an RFA, so no.
he's an RFA. So you have Fox, you have Schneider, and you can sign some friggin' third pair journeyman to fill that slot. I don't think any Rangers fan should have a problem with that, but if you're the Canucks, it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, they just gave Borgren the extension. Like,
Yeah.
he's-
Oh yeah, Borgen.
He,
Well,
he
there
signed,
you go.
He signed 4.1 for 4 years after this, So they have 3 right shot defensemen. They didn't need Mancini. And isn't that not what 5th round draft picks are for?
You nailed it.
You
nailed it.
You nailed the pick out of the park, and either you use him in your lineup when you need him, and they don't need him, so you trade him for stuff that
found
you need
value.
right now. Yeah, it's free stuff. So
Yeah.
I think they got great asset management there, because clearly Vancouver values him a lot higher than they do, and the New York Rangers don't need him currently.
The Rangers were a team on the brink, guys. A month and a half ago, it was, what the hell is Chris Drury doing? And it starts with Barclay Goodrow, and then the Jake Trouba drama this summer, which played obviously into this fall when they threatened to waive him. And putting Chris Kreider's name on that trade memo, all of this stuff. Now, it may not erase that, right? But now you've got Will Borgen in the door. You've got JT Miller in the door. I don't know if Brandstrom offers anything other than he's an AHL player. He just seems like he may not pan
They
out.
sent him down immediately.
Yeah, but
That's a shame.
you're all of a sudden, this team has sort of retooled within the last 6 months, and yeah, maybe that wasn't popular in the dressing room, but if they make the playoffs this year, I think the Chris Drury experiment here, as ugly and kind of ham-handed as it has been, people are going to say, and the Rangers have to say, that's a victory.
Well, think of it from a human perspective. Okay, so we screwed Barclay Goodrow, and no one's coming back. Okay, how am I supposed to feel about that if I'm in the room? All right, so we screwed Jacob Trouba, and we're getting, Euro Vakanainen back. How am I supposed to feel about that if I'm a Ranger? We got JT Miller? That's exciting. That's a guy who, I don't need to worry about, I no longer need to worry about, am I the next one to get pitched out the door? The GM's adding again. Hooray, right? They moved heaven and earth to get rid of Goudreau and a Trouba's cap hit. Now they're adding. Right? So I think there's got to be an element that was stressing them out throughout the fall of, I might be gone. And now you can at least be like, okay, it seems like we weathered that storm. We're here at least for the rest of this season. Let's go win some games.
Right.
I think that's how you got to feel.
And from the Vancouver Canucks perspective, let's leave Pettersson out of it for a sec. Let's talk about Hedl.
Which one?
Let's talk about, they've got 3 of them now.
Yeah.
3 Petterssons. Let's leave them all out, all 3 of them.
That's so ridiculous.
Let's talk about Hedl. Let's talk about Mancini. And then we'll talk about the pick and parlay that into the Pittsburgh Penguins trade. So Hedl, lots of potential. A lot of people were hot on this guy from the moment he was drafted, and there has been concussion issues, and there has been injury problems.
Played 16 games last year. 16. That's it. It's not great. And he didn't score. This year he's got 11 goals. It's the rebuild with him is going to take longer than this season. For the Canucks, that's got to be a future play. He scored. That was pretty cool. I like that. He's got passion. But that's I don't think you're going to see the best of Filip Hronek this season. You hope to see that next.
Jesse, what do you think about the Filip Hronek thing for the Canucks? What does it add? What do you think they're thinking long term?
You're banking on that he develops into something more that he's shown so far in his NHL career. Like, there's a lot of growth that has to come for you to look at this trade at the end of the day and be like, yeah, we're happy and satisfied. Because I think on the surface, you lose the trade. You parlay it into another trade, and we'll get into that. But, like, I never liked the team that's moving away from the better player. You know, they sent out the better player, and they get something that's magic beans right now in Hedl, because he's not at the potential that you'd hope, and it's always a guess that he's going to reach there. And like the concussion thing, I don't think it can be underplayed how serious that is and how it can affect his career. And we'll see if he can develop into a high-end scorer.
What's interesting is, so Filip Hronek, his career high in points is 45, and that's 2 years ago in 22-23. I thought you guys would find it interesting that his career ice time average is about 14 minutes a game, because that's how deep the Rangers have been.
Holy shit.
And so his first game with the Canucks, 20 minutes.
That's hilarious.
So he's going to get plenty of opportunity to figure it out over the next, I would say, not just this season, but the next 18 months, right? As Steve said, I think he's right. You got to have a good look at this guy long term. If he's going to play center for you, which he's going to have to learn to win some faceoffs.
Yes.
He's not a good faceoff winner. Although he won 75% on this weekend with the Vancouver Canucks, but his career face-off average is 41%.
Also,
that is like,
even though he scored also a -1. I know.
Yes.
Some fans are going to be salty if I don't point that out.
You need to have, listen, you may not be, and you may not turn into the high-flying scorer that New York wanted you to be when they drafted you 21st overall, or whatever it was, right? But if you want to stay in the league and you want to get 40 to 60 points, that's a pretty good living you can make, especially with the salary cap potentially going to $114 million in a couple seasons. You play center, you're making $5-6 million a year on that.
Oh,
Easy.
at least.
Easy.
At least.
So if this player can learn to win faceoffs, which is literally a learned skill, that is winning faceoffs, there is an art to it, but it's not like speed or fast twitch muscle fibers or hand-eye coordination that can be trained, but some of it's gift. Winning a faceoff is it's like defense. It's just practice. And I think that, I know it sounds like a stupid thing to bring up, but honestly,
it's important.
If this guy's a career 55% faceoff man, you're going, well, at least you can throw him out there on the power play. At least you can throw out there in defensive situations. Hey, I'll put him out on the penalty kill because he's going to win a faceoff.
Right.
That's what you need. So I want to see him do that. Now, Victor Mancini's an interesting one.
Here, I wanted to point out one more thing with Hedl. I don't know if I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but with the Kuzmenko deal between Calgary and Philly, we saw basically a trade that was partially designed to keep Matvei Michkov in his happy place.
And also offload Kuznetsov.
That too.
Kuzmenko's deal.
Yeah. The Canucks didn't have another Czech player other than Filip Hronek. So he's been on an island a little bit there, and I know he obviously speaks English, but it feels good to be able to speak your mother tongue with someone. And now maybe he gets to do that.
It's not a big country either. Like, these guys would, if they came up through the Czech national program, they would know each other.
Yeah. So I'm just pointing it out. That's probably something that helps Hronek feel a little better.
Victor Mancini, fifth round pick, has turned into a guy that looks like he could play hockey in the National Hockey League regularly.
Big.
But as you said, Jesse, he's a guy that also was behind a very stacked right side for the New York Rangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the New York Rangers, as we said, didn't have use for him, and I think the Vancouver Canucks do. Like, that's what they need is depth on D, because you saw last night, like, without Quinn Hughes, how how shaky they really are. You know, he's truly the driver of the whole team, and they need to find ways to get better and more defensemen into their system, so it's not just Quinn Hughes doing everything.
Well, imagine you're able to play Mancini up with Quinn Hughes in a year or two on the same pair. Hronek gets to play with whoever else on the second pair.
Marcus Pettersson.
Oh, there you go. Well, that was easy. And all of a sudden, that's a pretty handsome top four.